are listening to the Balancing Act podcast. Here's your hosts, Jamie Wonko and Joe Vitale.
Hey, buddy, what's going on? We are officially recording.
Oh, yes, we are. Hello, and welcome to the Balancing Act podcast. I am here with Joseph Vitale, whose name says the Balancing Act, not Joseph Vitale.
Hey, wait a minute.
It's okay.
You know,
I
let
like
me change
it.
that.
Double identifiers.
Double identifiers.
Yeah, and I'm Jamie Wonko, sometimes also known as the Balancing Act,
Yeah.
or the dance pusher. I take it.
The dance.
I've been getting a lot of feedback lately about how fun our dance videos are. And
There's a lot of fun dance videos.
Sometimes it's also followed up with like, does Joe like that? And I'm like, he loves it.
There's a little Stockholm syndrome going on. I feel like I have a beam of light shining down from my head.
You
do,
do, and it's
right
glorious.
Now?
It's glorious.
Yes, it's glorious. I'm gonna have to move myself over a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
But yeah, hey, just so you know.
What? Tell me.
I mean, we're both excited. We just came off our 100th episode, our big recording, and if you've been following us the last few weeks, it's been everything, and it's super exciting, and I'm still like so amazingly stoked about it, and
Yes.
the partnership that's coming from that, and the fact that we're already talking about season 4, and it's just
Quattro.
Yeah, it's kind of mind blowing to me, to be very honest.
It
But hey,
is.
we don't want to rush a good thing, because just so you know, our season 3 is brought to you by our presenting sponsor, is Teachers Insurance Plan. Make sure you check out their website, which is tagged in this episode, for more information and to get a quote. Don't forget, Teachers Insurance Plan, auto insurance that brings exclusive educator savings and exceptional customer care to New Jersey and Pennsylvania educational employees. How about that?
How about that?
Yes. So we have been chatting. Last week we had a guest on, and we talked about technology and how it's changed. And our theme for a couple episodes here is tech reset, right?
Yes.
And I think we have a great guest in the wings that's going to join us today, who not only has some of the same thinking that we do in regards to where technology has brought us to, and also. What might need to change in the coming years to kind of bring us back to basics. So I'm excited to have our guest on today. So, yeah. Should be very
are we bringing her in?
Yeah,
or
totally. I guess we should do that. That would probably help. Okay, let's bring our guest in. We'll have her in just a sec. Well, hello, Marcy Samayoa. It's so good to have you with us today from another guest of ours from the West Coast. Hello, Marcy. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing good. I just got done teaching about 30 minutes ago, but I'm so happy to be here, though. So excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
We're so happy to have you. It's so nice to meet you. What exactly, which part of the West Coast are you from?
I am in Los Angeles, California, so we're running on Pacific time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun out here. The weather's nice today. I'm really happy to be back at work, to be honest. Just like, it's nice.
Good for you.
And what grade were you with today?
Oh, yes. I teach 10th grade. I teach 10th grade chemistry. So both chemistry and honors chemistry for this year. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, nice. Interesting.
Yes.
Okay. Science teacher. We are two social studies teachers by trade. But I mean, and this is going to be coming out a little bit afterwards, but I'm sure I know you teach chemistry, but I'm as a space nerd have been completely glued to my television over the last
Artemis 2?
The last 2 weeks. I've just been was watching the Netflix coverage yesterday, of the big time move, right? It was like going around the dark side of the moon, and then the slingshot to get them back to Earth. And
Yes.
I'm learning so many things about exit velocity and rockets and things that I did not know before that are just so incredibly interesting. So are you going over this, talking about it with your students as well?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, I really wish we weren't in school. Like, we had spring break last week, so I really wish we were in school while they did the launch. But we weren't. But we got back in time to make it for the lunar flyby. Oh my goodness, I was so excited. I showed them, the 4 astronauts that went into space, and then I showed them the images that have been coming in from NASA, and they were so excited. I mean, it was so nice to see. I put up the picture of that picture that they just uploaded a few hours ago of the other side of the moon.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you could just hear in the classroom go, oh, and it was just like, Yeah, isn't this so cool? Oh, I wish I can just look at that all day. I have to teach, but I didn't incorporate it into my lesson for the
Yeah.
first like 15 minutes. I think it's really nice that kids get like positive news, for a change. So
I
it's just
agree.
yeah.
I kind of expressed to them like, hey, in case you didn't realize it, like we're about to have a group of human beings that's going to travel furthest from the earth than anyone ever in our species history. So like this is kind of important. And then also looking at it, from a civics perspective, like, you fund a space program because it allows us to learn about what else is out there. Yes, but technology development and all the things that we get from it are beneficial to humanity, right? So it's like something that we should be not to get political, right? It's something that we should be funding and spending some money on
No,
because
100%.
it is definitely something that we need to be aware of. So,
No, I share the same views too. I feel like exploring is part of humanity, and we definitely need to invest in that. I mean, just the fact that they're at the moon, like yesterday, I'm still amazed by it. It's just amazing. It's just amazing.
Like I found myself going down the rabbit hole of like they had a video about like the toilet that they use, like the toilet's like it's like in the floor. But there's not a floor because there's like no gravity, and like they have to have handles to hold on to it, and there's like they have to wear ear protection because it's loud. It's just everything to me about it is fascinating. Everything is fascinating, just because I would never do it.
But you could even include biology into it, because there was a video where like I think the pilot, he was doing exercise.
Yeah.
And the kids are like, what? Why is he doing exercise? And I had to go over, I'm like, well, you don't really use a lot of muscles when you're in space because, well, you're not walking. There's no gravity. And so you lose muscle when you're out there. So you have to make sure that you don't have a choice. You have to exercise if you want to be able to, not lose muscle during space exploration. And they found that really fascinating. So you could definitely incorporate biology, chemistry, physics. It's all in one. As a science teacher, my teacher heart is just like exploding right now. I'm so happy.
And hygiene and personal hygiene as well, because watching them wash their hair is next. Have you ever seen that when they would like totally have to do the dry whole routine of washing the hair? It's something else.
Even like brushing their teeth when they like swallow the toothpaste and stuff like that. It's fascinating to me. And again, the closest I'm getting to space is Space Mountain, and that's a little. And I don't even go on that anymore because I can't handle it because I'm an old person.
So Marcy, are you like a lot of other high school teachers that will not teach ninth graders?
That's a great. And what's really funny is that's hysterical. I was just talking with a friend of mine who's like, I'll teach anything at the high school,
but ninth grade.
I just don't want to teach ninth grade.
Yes.
No, I hate to admit it, but you caught me. You caught me. The reason why I majored in biology, and the reason I decided to get my credential in chemistry is because biology is mostly ninth grade. So I went with chemistry to get the older kid.
Good for you.
So you caught me. You're the first one to call me out on that, by the way.
My husband teaches high school, and he is one of the also like, I'll do anything, but not freshmen. I'll teach anything. But he loves juniors the most. There's something like magical about juniors for some reason, but.
Gotcha. Oh, we got some bells going off. Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm still in school. Like I said, I just finished teaching half an hour ago. If I were to go home, I wouldn't have made it on time. So.
Well, Los Angeles traffic, right?
Yeah.
So we're sitting here talking about all this technology and space and all these fun things. But one of the reasons that I think we're birds of a feather here, Marcy, is I saw an article about you on Education Week, about you rolling back the use of Chromebooks in your chemistry class. And I definitely want to talk to you about that, but I think that's kind of where our talk should start, right? Like, what are like some of the things that you've noticed in your career so far in regards to technology, and why you've decided to scale it back?
So it started after we came back from COVID. The students' attention spans have like just dwindled down from my experience. And I feel like it's because they were stuck at home the whole time. Not only do they have to go to school on a screen, but afterwards, most of them did not really have adult supervision at home, just because parents had to work. And it was just like a very unique point in time. So they were on their screens the whole time. So, and that's when TikTok got popular, by the way, during the pandemic, because everyone was at home, they had nothing to do, and we were all on lockdown. So, so to just come back to school and experience more screens, it was just, I don't know, I just felt a certain way about it. But other than that, I also felt like they weren't learning as much as they would on, with pencil and paper. It just takes over their working memory so much. For example, if you're on the computer, you have to fight the urge of going on social media. Just fighting that urge takes the attention away from the material, just that in itself. Right? And then for those that give in, well, now they're on YouTube. Now they're on like TikTok, Instagram. So I've heard a lot of teachers go, well, just use GoGuardian, right? Block those websites. But now the student is in front of the computer trying to think of ways to go around GoGuardian. So now they're not focusing on the material. Now they're focusing on how do I get past this, GoGuardian, right? How do I get past this blockage, right, from all the social media websites? So I just feel like it takes their attention away, and attention is so fragile. I just don't think it's worth it. I don't think the pros and cons, I don't think it's balanced. I think there's definitely a lot more cons than pros when it comes to learning. So I decided, you know what? I'm just not going to use them as much anymore. Not to mention that they come unprepared and the technical difficulty. So let's say that the students were paying attention to the material by some miracle, right? Oh, miss, I don't have a charger. Oh, miss, I'm having technical difficulties. I'm not connecting to the Wi-Fi. So now other stuff are taking their attention away from the material. So like I said, I just don't think the pros outweigh the cons. It doesn't happen. So that's the reason I decided to take the Chromebooks away, and it has been a game changer in my classroom, to be completely honest. Students are more focused. They're willing to socialize with each other. You know what I mean? It's just, we need to take away screen time. I feel like it's very detrimental to their learning.
Yeah. Have you noticed so in our school, we started last year, we had no tech January. For the entire month, there was no tech in the school at all. And me, I do have cafeteria duty this year. And so has been something collectively of the people that I'm on cafeteria duty with that we've sort of said, like, you are not allowed to be on your Chromebook during lunchtime because they're not interacting. They're just playing games, and so they're alone. Like, you might hear someone.
And most of them are not appropriate. Like, I'm not trying to sound like old man shake fist at sky, but like, it's first person shooter games.
Yes.
It's like granted, some of them are like doing like, Roblox or racing games or whatever, but like they're playing they're playing games that they shouldn't be playing in school.
Yeah, so we've collectively tried to encourage them to talk to one another and socialize. We now this year have No Tech Monday, which is good because the entire school, there's no technology on Mondays, which is nice. In my own children's school, they've been having like No Tech Friday. And, and so I think that that's good, to adapt and show the kids, that they can do it without, it's kind of like, what did you do before a cell phone? How did you call your mom from school? They really don't understand some of those things because they've never had to do them. So I like the idea of that. Does your school have any kind of formal method of handling that, is my first part. And the second part is, when your students come into your classroom, what do they do with the devices if you don't allow them, but they need them for the next class?
Yes. Okay. So I want to backtrack a little bit what you said, how the students don't know how to do stuff without technology.
Right.
New teachers have a hard time teaching without technology.
Yes.
So I've been in the classroom for 10 years, right? So I barely made it. Like, I was in like those last few years where like it wasn't one-on-one Chromebook interaction, right? So, when that article on Education Week got published, a few of the newer teachers came up to me. They're like, wait, how do you teach without a computer? And I just found that so fascinating. I was like, wait a second, you've been trained in your teacher credential program to incorporate technology into the classroom. So they don't really, they might have some idea because when they went to school, they probably didn't have the technology, but it's just interesting to see how they ask that question. They're like, wait, so how do you give exams? And I'm like, wait, what do you mean? Like, you just, so I found that part really interesting. My school currently does not have a system, a formal system. Just as you mentioned, we don't have like technology free Mondays, Fridays. We don't have that. A lot of our teachers do heavily depend on technology to conduct their lessons, which, like that's their classroom. I have my classroom. I'm not going to comment on that. Right. But we don't have anything formal. And then when the students come in, because they do need their Chromebooks for their other classes, I just tell them that I don't want it on their desks. Like it needs to be in their backpack. So that's a routine that we have. When they come in during the first few days of school, they will automatically take out their Chromebook. And I said, no, it needs to stay in your backpack, not on your desk, in your backpack, because just having it on your desk is already a distraction.
Yep.
Because then what they do is that they're going to open it halfway and then play their little games halfway. You know what I mean? Like it's just.
Yes. I always call that alligatoring, and say to them,
Shark
they
bite.
looked like an alligator.
Yeah.
And sometimes their heads were actually in the mouth of the alligator Chromebook. It's like, I can see you. What are you doing? Yes, they can't resist it. Yes.
I experienced that at the high school level too. So I had to tell them, put the Chromebook in their backpack. So that's the routine we have.
Okay. I often think too, though, I mean, and I don't want to, I comment on what my children specifically go through. Like my kids are high school seniors. I have twins. Jamie's son is also a high school senior in the same school. So, and her two daughters are in the 8th grade, right? And I just think that there's like, I'll look at my son's screen time, and I'll look at the fact that he was on his device for most of the day during the school day, his personal device, okay? Because they allow them to be able to listen to music while they're working,
Gotcha.
okay? And I'm just like, but why? Like, they're just, like, I understand it, but, like, there's just this disengagement factor of, like, then they're just literally sitting there on a screen, or they're given, like, something to do in some kind of portal, and he gets all of his work done. He gets A's, in lowest grade is a B plus in a calculus class, like in a dual enrollment calculus class. So he's a very smart kid, and he knows how to like put his nose to the grindstone and get the work done. But I just don't understand. And this isn't really a question for you, Marcy, because you can't fix it, or none of us can actually. Is like, why are we allowing that? Like that's the bigger question. It's like, why are they're on their personal devices, or we're telling them you could use it during lunch, but you just can't text anyone outside the building. And I'm like, you can't monitor any of that. So why are you even mentioning it? Like that to me is like, it's a policy, but it's an absence of a policy that allows free reign for the kids to be able to do stuff on their personal devices, right? Do kids also come in, like, are you fighting that battle as well, like with phones and personal devices, or does the school or district have a specific policy for you guys to follow?
We have a specific cell phone policy, actually. We were one of the first few schools in Los Angeles to implement it. So we have a cell phone ban during class time. So as they walk into the classroom, the routine is that they put their cell phones in a little cubby, and they have their designated cubby for their phone, and they place it there, and then at the end of the period they can grab it. I think the thought process behind that is during an emergency they're able to have easy access to their phones without the teacher trying to hand them out. It's in their cubbies, so their phone cubbies, that's what I call it. So if there's an emergency, they can easily grab their phone, because that was a parent concern. They're like, if there's an emergency, how are my kids gonna contact me? And I tell them, well, it's not. I mean, it's there, it's easy access. But we definitely want the phones away during instruction, because it is so distracting. I don't think it's fair to ask teachers to compete with TikTok or compete with Instagram. These are like $1 or billion, I don't even know, dollar companies that have invested a lot of money to make the platform addicting. Right. And so the fact that you want teachers to compete with that is just insane. No, that's not a fair ask on the teachers. I don't think so.
Right. It's like ice cream and Brussels sprouts,
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
not right. It's not gonna. So did your district buy you the cubbies, and are the cubbies all the same?
They did. They bought them for us, and most of them are the same. Yes.
Yeah. It's so, my husband's district is kind of fighting something similar with the kids. And so like different, what Joe and I often talk about, and so many different people that we talk to and interview, what is so hard for the teachers and even harder for the kids is that everything is different everywhere, every day, every hour, every, so it's like we're all having similar challenges, but none of the solutions are even remotely close to, the same thing. And so you go to one place, it's this way, you go to another place, and it's very confusing for the kids. And it is what I think often makes the adults and the teachers kind of throw their hands up and say, like, forget it, because we used to take them. Like if we found a phone, if the kid had the phone, they're not supposed to have the phone's supposed to be in their locker. We used to take them. And then, one of the teachers was accused of dropping the phone that she broke the phone. And it was this whole like back and forth. So there was a kind of a time period where it was like, I don't want to take the phone. It's $1,000, item. And it's, so our school district now, that was some years ago, our district now is still sticking with that policy with the, personal phones in our school. But our kids, I guess, it's not the same for them if they can listen to music or whatever. My girls are like, I have kept them off of social media. They're 13. They still don't, YouTube every once in a while. They'll watch some videos and stuff. But as far as school, like they leave it in their lockers. They don't even try to walk around with it. So
I wish there was more of an enforcement of that. Like we tried it and just not enough people are enforcing it. So then you get people like me who, and I steal a line from my co-host. So, and Marcy, I don't know if I mentioned this, but Jamie and I work in the same building together, but our kids go to school in different buildings, but in the same district. So they're like, we know like what goes on in our school.
We know what the policy is, but
it's like we know
different.
what the policy and what should be happening, but then what is or isn't happening, because it's up to certain discretion in certain buildings, which leads to the gray areas that get produced, right? But it's very much a challenge, especially now in New Jersey. They've, like many other states, have just passed legislation that there's a complete total ban during the school day. And I'm wondering, like, our district can't just say, well, we already have a policy, but you don't, because it's not enforced. So
I like the cubbies, to be honest with you.
Me too.
I think they can put them and see them. There's something about them seeing them that makes them feel better, because they really do get lost. Which, I mean, has anybody here ever forgot their phone at home and you're at work and you're like, oh my goodness, it's not an uncommon response. You feel like, what will I do without it? We have all become attached. So in that way, I kind of understand when they feel panicked about it. So I'm sure, but there's got to be something that gives, in that way. We have another question for you. What have you stopped doing? Conversations around EdTech and instructional practices evolve, and we're just curious what you've intentionally stepped away from in your own classroom, and have you seen any positive impact?
I think we're going to get to the gamification.
Have you ever thought, I work in education, why is finding a job so weirdly hard?
Yeah, scrolling through random job boards where half the listings don't even make sense is not the vibe.
That's why njschooljobs.com actually makes sense.
It's a job board built specifically for New Jersey schools, public, private, charter, and parochial.
Teachers, administrators, counselors, support staff, coaching opportunities. If your job involves a bell schedule, this site's for you.
It's free for job seekers. You can upload your resume, set job alerts, and apply without jumping through hoops.
Schools across New Jersey actively use njschooljobs.com, so these are real, current openings.
They also host virtual job fairs where you can connect with multiple districts online. No driving all over the state.
Those are coming up soon, so check the link in our episode description to register.
Head to njschooljobs.com.
So a lot of the times when teachers review, they gamify the system. So for example, they use Kahoot or Bookit, and they heavily rely on that, especially, for exam review sessions. I stopped doing that, to be completely honest, just because I noticed that the kid is not focused on the learning itself. They're just focused on winning. So for example, I remember I tried the Quizlet platform, and there's like a game that they can play to get familiar with the words. But in the game, what ended up happening is that they were just clicking on random stuff. Like it was just random. They were just trying to get the point.
Yeah, I actually really like, I know what one you're talking about, because Quizlet had that, like, it was meant for them to collaborate with one another, and like, because they all would have the answers to all of the questions, but they weren't on all of their devices, so they had to talk to each other and say, hey, you have this answer for that question, and I have this answer for this question, but they would just start like tapping the screen and hitting a button, and that's not learning.
Exactly.
Right?
That is not learning. You're just focusing on the gamification of it. And so once, you know, I realized that really like quickly also. I'm like, I don't think I like this. And so I adopted a new review system. It's a whole thing, but that's what I stepped away from. So for exam review sessions, instead we do practice problems and we look at the mistakes that we make and we learn from them and they study together. There's like this whole structured system that I have, and I've seen their test scores improve from that than just playing Kahoot and Book It. Now, there's always a time and place for them, you know. Sorry, the lights go on and off with this. It's automatic.
Oh, no problem.
You know, there's a time and place. So for example, maybe they just need a little bit of energy boost. Maybe I'll play for like 2 minutes, but then I'll ask them, okay, now put them away. Like you're energized now, because we're on block schedule. So it's kind of, you know, you have to keep up the energy. So, but other than that, no, I don't dedicate a lot of time to the gamification when it comes to learning. It just, it doesn't work in my opinion.
Yeah, when the kids we do these creation projects, the kids can make things, and a lot of times when they, if they choose to make something electronic, they will make a Book It, or, you know, gosh, there's one where like they hunt each other. I don't know. I don't even know what that is. Gim Kit. And so they'll make them, and so it's good. At least I see, you know, and then I watch and I'm always like, I really just don't get this. But for me, the gamification, I will do my actual textbook comes like every single topic we cover. There's a Kahoot that's made for it. So they know like that's the only game that they're getting is the one that comes from the actual textbook. And they do, you know, they like it, but it is direct, like the material is, it's directly related to what we just did, and it's very sort of simple and basic, and there's maps. But my issue also is having a child that my child is a very slow processor, and the games often really just are for the kids who are fast, and it doesn't mean that they don't know, it's just that they're not as fast. And so he would come home and like, I didn't get extra credit on my test because I wasn't fast, and that system of reward to me was so flawed as a parent. It just annoyed me. So it was, and you know, and he knew it, he just couldn't do it as fast as someone else. But you know, so I'll do it like you said every once in a while, and the kids will ask like, how come we're not by this point of the year? They know like it's just not what we do. But you know, so it's an interesting gamification, and there are so many of them that
I think that's part of the issue too, is that when I sit and I listen to, you know, my colleagues sometimes, it's like, okay, we're going to do this Book It at the beginning of class that day, and then the next day we're going to do the Gim Kit, and then it's like day after day after day of that, number one.
Right.
And like number two, it's like, okay, we all got Gim Kit. We're like, oh, this is interesting, it's fun, it's all different. But like if I'm doing it and then they're doing it in their English class and then they're going into their science class and they're doing it, like eventually you're going to get the eye roll, and they're going to be like, oh, this again? Like, so we do need to find different ways to do, you know, different things to review. I'm interested to hear a little bit more, Marcy, about your system that you use. I know you talked about practice problems, but what are some other things that you've chosen to do in regards to review? Do you teach AP? Is it AP as well, or is it just honors?
No, I used to teach AP a few years back, but no, I'm not teaching it this year. Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Yeah.
So what does your system look like?
Oh, it has changed throughout the year. So the day before the exam, or like maybe a week before the exam, what I will do is I will print out all questions in multiple choice format, just because it's easier to keep track of and blah, blah, blah. But what I would do is I would have them take a practice test. Like,
that's great.
Actual practice tests. Like, these are all the topics that we covered, and then we'll go over the answers as a class. Like, okay, for number 1, did you get B? For number 2, did you get C? Whatever. And every question is aligned to a topic. So I organize it in a table where there's the question, there's the multiple choice answers, and next to the question is the topic of that question. So for example, maybe this is a stoichiometry question, this is a thermochemistry question, this is a whatever. So that way, when they get the answer wrong, they know which topic they're struggling in, right? So I'm like, okay, if you got number 1 wrong, because that's a stoichiometry topic problem, then you're struggling with stoichiometry. So this is what you do if you're struggling with stoichiometry. So I have a whole game plan for them. Like, this is how you study the stoichiometry topic. Oh, if you're struggling with thermochemistry, okay, this is what you do in order to prepare for, like, to get better at answering thermochemistry topics. So yeah, it's like a whole system. I literally show them how to study because students haven't been taught how to.
They haven't.
They haven't, and we have talked about that so many times.
We hear that a lot from kids when they come back from college, where they are really struggling and having a difficult time. And I mean, we've been teaching a really long time, so there used to be a class and it was called Study Skills, and every middle school student took that class, and they were taught, methods and ways. And so what you're describing is so smart and so necessary.
And Marcy, we've talked to a bunch of people about executive function on our show, and I work for a company doing executive function tutoring for 7th, 8th, and 9th graders. Pretty much is the age group that I focus on. But we get emails weekly, daily, sometimes about college students that are signing up for the program that are having trouble, chunking out their schedule, managing their time, applying study skills. So like, if you're doing any of that in a 10th grade class, that's fantastic. Because it's like, oh, they should just know they should get to me and they should just know how to do it. And they don't. They don't. You have to set those expectations from the jump every year. And that's why I spent so much time at the beginning of the year about how to use your planner and what does it look like when we study? How do we divide up our time? Why is it better to start a couple days early than just, cram the night before? Like, giving them the brain research behind that and have them understand what's the method of the madness. Why are we doing it the way that we're doing it? So
yeah, exactly. And just to add to that, I think it's very important because what I've seen some schools do is that they think that they can just teach a student how to study in one day and they'll remember it for the rest of the year. And you're like, no, you have to teach it within your content. Right? So if you want to teach them how to use flashcards, guess what? You're going to have to do that throughout the year for them to develop that habit. It's not a one and done thing. So that's what I've seen a lot of schools do. They're like, oh, we have a week where we cover executive functioning skills. I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's a good start. But if that's all you're doing, that's not good enough because habits take time to form. And so you need to find a way to embed it into the content. That way students can slowly build on those habits, right? So I just wanted to throw that in there because I'm so glad.
No, that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole idea of us, because you talked about, new teachers, like, how do I do this without a device? Like, the whole idea of us talking about a tech reset here is for people that might be listening to be like, okay, well, where would I get started? Like, if I know what I would tell a new teacher if they wanted to have less of a reliance on technology. What might be a piece of advice that you might give a new teacher in the classroom if they wanted to start pulling back technology on their own? What do you think? What could be a first step for them in the classroom?
I mean, I think the best way to do it is do it the same way as I was teaching a student. I think just model it for them, right? I mean, I think you could give a piece of advice to teachers, but it's so vague that it's just more practical to see it practiced in the classroom. So maybe my best advice would be like, hey, you want to come and observe my classroom and see how I do it? Yeah. And if you have any feedback, that would be great too, because you never know. It's always good to have a second set of eyes in the classroom. I often film my lessons, and so, I'll be like, hey, if you don't have time to stop in, do you want to watch how I do it and maybe get an idea, and maybe that can get them started. Because That's we great. Often just we throw so much advice to teachers, but it's hard to implement when we don't see how it's, structured in the classroom. So I think that's where I would start. I'm like, or maybe include some YouTube videos, right? There's other amazing teachers out there. I'll be like, hey, let's take a look as to how this teacher is doing it. without the Chromebook.
Yeah. And do you, what do you do with the videos of the lessons? Is that something that you like turn over for the kids to have access to?
No, I do it for my own blog.
Wow.
I upload it on my social media platforms. That way, I can get feedback from other people. I'm currently doing a PD in my school, and I'm trying to use my own lessons because I feel like you should practice what you preach, right? We often hear so much in PD. We often hear so much instruction from people who haven't been in the classroom for years.
Yes.
And I'm like, I think we should get it from someone who's still in the classroom sometimes. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah, we just had our sponsor of the podcast just posted a quote recently that the best professional development is the teacher down the hall, and they had someone's name like attached to it, and I was like, Joe, didn't we say that?
No,
I thought that was us, but I know
that is something that I say. But it came from you. Like I heard that many
clearly
times.
Must have forgot. Right, and I was like quoted to somebody else, and I was like, oh no. Yeah. But yes, I mean, yeah, it
should have been Jamie Wonka.
Yeah,
should have been underneath that because that's something I heard from you. And you also did did some amazing stuff at the previous building you worked at with the. You did the showcase. I can't remember exactly what it was called.
Yes, yeah.
Where everybody came and like saw a technology lesson that their students were doing hands-on, which I thought was great because it wasn't just like, oh, I do a Kahoot. It was like, well, we take this thing and we build something and then we use an earthquake thing to simulate and see if their structure withholds the stuff, and then they record it and they show how it breaks down. And like, it was really cool that it was like a physical model, but it was also something they were doing with technology. And I thought that was a really cool environment where, parents could then see what or how the students are using the technology.
Yeah. And I mean, I love a poster. There's something to me always still about like that real physical tracing letters, putting on display. Like there are so many things that happen that although digitally can be beautiful, so many of them now the kids are just so used to like even Canva, where they can just like copy and paste everything. And we recently had a student who was using his Canva account. There was like a feature of AI in Canva. He was just copying everything. So like they thought that they had so many things blocked for him. And he found some loophole with Canva, which was like, what? So there is like this idea of, yes, the technology can afford you some really cool stuff, but at the same time, like there are still steps of the learning process that are so important when you put pen to paper, even coloring some, there's just like, there's so many things that can be learned from doing those things as well.
The copy and paste projects. That's what I think it's not my original term. I forgot who said that, but I'm like, oh my God, yeah, that's what it is. Because often what teachers do is that like, as a project, they have students assign a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation or a Google Slides presentation. And I'm not a fan of those because I'm like, well, especially with AI, right? Like they don't even beautify it on their own. You just have AI do it. Like it's just a copy and paste project, and like no one learns from copying and pasting. So I don't know, that's just my opinion on it. But,
no, you're not wrong.
And we agree.
And that's why like a lot of what we're talking about and building towards is, what is the classroom going to look like in 3, 4, 5 years? Like, and none of us know that answer, but if we go back to 2020, which you said, you started teaching pre-pandemic, right? So yes. I'm assuming the school that you were in was not one-to-one at the time.
No.
No, and we were not. I mean, I know Jamie, the 6th grade curriculum was Chromebook.
I was, yeah. We were one-to-one.
You guys were one-to-one, but they were, but they weren't taking them home. They were one-to-one as like they were in the building, right? I see.
Yeah. I see.
So,
the carts.
We had the carts, and then we go back to. Then it's 2020, and then it's the influx of funds to buy Chromebooks because students needed them because we're going to be doing distance learning and hybrid learning, and some kids couldn't come to school for 2 years because of whatever medical conditions that they had, or so you had all this infrastructure that needed to be purchased. But now that we're 5 years out now, right, and we're getting to end of life on a lot of these devices, and they look like, my Prius that I just drove for 13 years that my daughter took over, and then it died and we had to turn it in. Like they are on their last leg. Like my students get to the last period of the day with me, which is, we have 6 periods. I have them 5th period. And like a lot of them, and these are good kids, like I know their devices are charged when they come to school. They don't last the full day. So I got like.
Yeah. And they're not meant to,
And they're not meant to.
I often say, we're asking these little Chromebooks to do a whole lot more than they were ever actually supposed to be able to do or handle. And so that is what frustrates me, because I don't like all or nothing. I don't like, also as a teacher, I don't like being told that I have to do something. I want to be able to make decisions for my students that I think are in my professional scope, the things I know are right for them on their behalf. And so, the whole idea of just like, let me just give you this and you're going to play a game kit and then you're going to go to Ed Puzzle and then you're going to, listen to something else, or you're just going to play games. That pattern of it is, unfortunately, it's sort of wrecking some of the good things that can be done and, used, they can be used to do. But, it doesn't always work out that way. But we are certainly interested in finding out, other people's experiences, and yours is by far very eye-opening and interesting to us. So we really appreciate that.
And how long have you been, not pushing back? How long have you pulled back with devices? And was there any pushback by either parents or administration in the building that you were in? Because it seems that you have a lot of autonomy where you are, where you can make decisions on your own. Was there any like, hey, why are you doing this? Anybody questioning or at least looking for, the reasoning behind your switch?
Right?
Yeah, for you to defend it.
Well, it's actually kind of funny. My admin found out through the Ed Week article.
Oh, wow. That's funny.
Yeah, they didn't know I was doing it, but they were okay with it. I mean, they didn't question it. I didn't get in trouble or anything. I think the only requirement is our textbook is online. So, obviously we're required to use the textbook. So, yeah, I do dedicate a few minutes a week on the Chromebook just to, abide by that policy. But other than that, no, I haven't had any trouble. This is my first year doing it.
Okay.
Yeah, last year I used to use them a lot more, but it just became so frustrating, and it definitely burned me out as a teacher. I mean, a lot of things burn me out as a teacher, but why? I would rather take off one thing off my plate, and that's the Chromebooks. I don't want to deal with the chargers anymore. I don't want to worry about tripping over the charger cord, right, in front of everybody. Like, it's just one less thing I have to worry about. I also have a seating chart, and it was very frustrating where students would sometimes lie about their Chromebook not being charged. That way they can sit in the back because the outlets are in the back. And so now you have like 10 kids in the back and you're like, no, that's not going to work. Okay, go back to your seats. So, I've only been doing this for this academic year, and it's been great. I love it. I'm not going back.
And I think you're not the only teacher. I mean, I started pulling back the beginning of last year. And I don't think that you're the only teacher that is making that decision. Plus, I think that there's whole districts, and I don't know the exact ones, but there's a few that are like, we're collecting all the devices, we're going back to carts. Which honestly, I would like to see us do. I mean, I don't know if we ever would do that, but
I would love the carts.
Yeah, I would just say, let's go back to carts. Let's have them in the classroom. Let's plug them in, keep them in class overnight. I don't know. I mean, I know it's an equity issue for certain kids that maybe don't have, where you have other kids that maybe do have their own personal devices and they're able to access stuff. So I don't know. There is no magic bullet answer for this. But I'm curious as to what the classroom is going to look like in 3, 4, 5 years. And I think that, people like us and also like you, Marcy, are going to be leading the charge as to what that classroom is going to look like. So,
I mean, I think with everything that's going on the news too, didn't they just sue like a social media company for?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then they won the case. So I think that's just a start. I mean, that's how we started with cigarettes, right? Like hey, it causes cancer. Hey, this is very detrimental to your health, right? And then they started suing the companies, and now there's like warning signs everywhere. Now, we're not going to talk about the vape pens because they made a comeback, but whatever. Like, that's another topic.
Yeah.
But
it was a jury that found, I'm sorry to interrupt, but just so we have it,
go
it's
ahead.
there's a jury that found that Meta and Google were negligent in social media harms trial. I think there was a young lady that sued and said that she developed depression and anxiety from compulsive use due to the addicting algorithms of social media. And there was $6 million that was rendered against those Silicon Valley companies. Now, what do I think is going to happen? Like, this is probably going to get appealed, and it's going to keep going up and up and up the chain here, because it's going to have long-lasting implications for, social media companies and what they do in the future. So I would see that, this might be something that goes all the way to the Supreme Court to be heard about what the actual impact is. Or you go back to, you made the claim about cigarettes, right? That Surgeon General's warning, is there going to be some kind of disclaimer, warning, education program for people to understand the addictive nature of these devices and what they hold? So,
Right. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I think we're going to start to see less screens in the future. I just don't see the benefits. I mean, our test scores are going down. We need to do something. And I think that I know it's just a correlation, not causation. I'm aware of the differences, but I really believe that there's a very strong correlation between screen use and test scores. I really do think so. Especially
I think that's somebody's studying that somewhere. Like, it's going to come out at some point.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
No, but even with math, right? It bothers me that computers are being used in math. Now, I know they have some applications. I'm not advocating to get rid of technology completely. There's definitely some uses for it. Sometimes I use it for science simulations, because science is an abstract concept. So there's some really good demos online that makes it more concrete. So, once in a while I use it, but I wouldn't use it to have students write down a fraction, right? So because what happens is that now they're not focusing on the math. Now they're like, wait, how do I put a fraction on the computer? How do I format it? And there's this whole thing that you have to do to format it into a fraction.
Well, and then we go back to the larger conversation of most of the state exams went to online portals, and then students had to have the knowledge of how to do those things for when they took those exams. So then we had to start teaching them with those tools, so they knew how. I'm trying to work this through in my head as I stare at the ceiling. It's
a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. And now I don't know what's going to happen as we move backwards, but these kids still are digital natives and can do these things without us giving them the instruction to do it. At least that's my take on it. So,
you would think. I don't know. Have you seen how they Google stuff?
No,
I remember I gave them an assignment where because I wanted to see how they Google, right? And this was before AI. And they Googled it, and they're like, Miss, I cannot find the answer. And I'm like, wait, what do you mean you can't find the answer? They're like, well, it's not in there. And then I'm like, wait a second. Did you just read that little excerpt that Google gives you? And then they're like, yeah. I'm like, no, you have to click on it. You have to click on the website and read the whole thing. So it was a whole lesson in itself. I'm like, wait, hold up a second. You don't know how to Google.
Yeah.
So, and these kids grew up with iPads, right? But the thing about the iPad is you're familiar with apps. You're not familiar with the computer itself.
Okay.
I have some kids that didn't know how to copy and paste.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I still
some of that.
say the little touch the baby's face, right click, and they're like, what? Is that on your mouse pad? Tap, tap, a little. They're like, what?
Yeah, there's a lot
of
that.
Know what right click means. Yeah. So you're just because you grew up on the iPad. I'm like, okay. So it's this is,
Oh, yeah.
It's like when they did the videos, and they have two people standing next to the wall, and it's they have someone like me and then a teenager how would you make a phone call? And you go this,
you go like this.
But they go like that. So it's the brick thing. So there is a difference in how we do things.
Right.
I guess it's just me being hopeful that they'll know how to do that stuff.
Sorry, I don't mean to rain on your parade.
No, not one bit. That's not one bit at all. Well, Marcy, it is really a breath of fresh air to have you on with us today. I do thank you for taking the time out of your teaching day and probably wanting to catch up on all the space things.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to get back on it. I'm going to put that as my wallpaper. Those new moon images, that's going to be my wallpaper.
It's so awesome.
It's going to be great.
Well,
and you know what? You know what, Marcy?
Segue, go for it.
And Joe, season 3 of this little podcast here is brought to you by our presenting sponsor, Teachers Insurance Plan. Check out their website for more information and get a quote. Teachers Insurance Plan, auto insurance that brings exclusive educator savings and exceptional customer care to New Jersey and Pennsylvania educational employees. Right. We appreciate you so much for being here, Marcy. Joe, I appreciate you.
Jamie, I appreciate you. Marcy, appreciate you very much for taking the time to join us.
Jamie, thank you so much for having me here. This was so much fun.
Awesome.
It was.
Well, we enjoyed having you. Next week, we have another guest for our Tech Reset theme, and we'll see everybody next time on the Balancing Act podcast.
Bye.
Look for the Balancing Act podcast every week on your favorite podcast platform. New episodes drop every Tuesday. Thank you for being a part of our audience. We appreciate you.